Today we're going to be working on writing equations of circles in your coordinate plane and without it. All right, so the first thing we need to look at was the actual equation of a circle looks like. Okay, and we're given this right here. Now, there's a couple new things in here for you. The center of the circle is at HK. HK represents a point on a graph or in the equation that you're looking at. Okay, notice in the actual equation, we put in the opposite of the x value. So the h stands for the x value of the center of your circle. And we put the opposite in. So for example, if h is 2, we're going to put in -2 into our equation. The k stands for the opposite of the y value of the center. So if the y value is -3, so let's say this is the center of your circle, it's at 2, -3. The opposite of -3 is a +3. Okay, and then we set that equal to r being our radius, r squared. So r is the radius of the circle. So in the actual equation, it's going to be r squared. So let's say I tell you the radius is 4. Can't write 4 in an equation, we have to square that. So 4 squared is 16. So if a circle had a center at 2, -3 with a radius of 4, this is going to be the equation of our circle right here. Okay, so now let's take a look and let's go work backwards. If I give you an equation, we're going to identify the center, the radius, and the diameter. We'll do this together. So take a look at this first one. Let's first start with the center. The center can be found in the x and the y. So for the x value, remember it's the opposite. If my equation is x minus 1, that means the x value is going to be 1. Now if you notice, nothing is being added to y, so we indicate that by a 0. So this is the center of our circle. Okay, we also need to find the radius and the diameter. Well, if you remember, this number is the radius squared. So we need to take the square root of 25 to find the radius. The square root of 25 is 5. And if you remember, diameter is just 2 times the radius. So if the radius is 5, our diameter is 10. All right, let's take a look at B. If you notice in both of these, there's nothing being added or subtracted. So that means that our center is at the origin. It's at 0, 0. Okay, and I'm working with it set equal to the same number. So the radius is 5, because the square root of 25 is 5, and my diameter is 10. Okay, I'm going to pause the video for those of you that are ready, and I want you to try C and D on your own. If you're not, then just listen along with me. All right, taking a look at letter C. Remember, it's opposite values, so x minus 2, the x value is 2. Y plus 1, the y value is -1. That's where my center of my circle is. My radius is 5, and my diameter is 10. Letter D, the center is at -5, 3, because the opposite of 5 is -5. The opposite of -3 is a +3. This time my radius is 6, because the square root of 36 is 6. And I double that to find my diameter of 12. All right, let's go ahead and let's graph some. We're going to give you the equation, and you need to, okay, come on. You need to graph the circle. The first thing I want you to do is identify the center and the radius. You need to know that information in order to graph. So taking a look here, my center is going to be at -5, +2. Remember, it's the opposite values. So let's go ahead and plot that point. Starting at my origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the center. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to make my point a little bit smaller. Just kidding. It's out of line, that's why. All right, my radius. This is the radius squared, so we need to take the square root. So the square root of 9 is 3. So the easiest thing to do is from your center, in each direction, count 3. So I'm going to go to the right, 1, 2, 3, and put a point. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, put a point. Left 3, 1, 2, 3, and put a point. Down, 1, 2, 3, and put a point. And then you're just going to do the best you can to connect those on the outside. Do the best you can to make it look like a circle. Mine doesn't really, but you get the idea. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, there's my circle. So what I kind of did was I just went around and around and around and made dots, and once I saw a good line, I drew my circle in. Okay, this circle has a center at -5, 2, and its radius is 3. The distance from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, my radius is 3. All right, good. All right, pause the video, try number 3 on your own. If you're not ready for that, then just do it with me. Alrighty, take a look. I found my center to be at 3, 0, because the opposite of negative 3 is 3, and then 0. My radius being 4, because I took the square root. Okay, I plotted my center, and then I plotted points to the side. My circle's a little off just because the alignment of the board is off, so I apologize. The dotted ones are a better example of what the circle looks like, but I just connected them the best I can. All right, so now we're going to go the other way. We're going to write the equation. We're given the circle, we have to write the equation. So we need to identify two things. We need to identify the center and the radius. So let's start with the center. We need to find the coordinates of this point right here. So my x coordinate is 0 because I did not move left or right at all. My y coordinate is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, negative 3. That's my center. My radius, 2. Okay, to go from the center to one of the points on the side is 2. So as I put that in the equation, I do not need to write x plus 0 squared. It's not wrong if you do, but you're not going to see it that way. So we're just going to write x squared plus the opposite of negative 3 is a positive, so y plus 3 squared plus my radius squared. And then you're actually going to go ahead and square the radius. Now for those of you, you can jump right to 4, that's fine. Okay, but make sure it's not equal to 2, it's equal to 2 squared. All right, try the next one on your own. Pause the video. All right, my center is at 2, 3. So when I went in my equation, I put negative 2 and negative 3. The radius is 5, and 5 squared is 25. So here's my equation. All right, let's go ahead on to the next page. All right, our directions say write the equation of the circle whose center is at 1, negative 3 and passes through a point. Okay, so I have the center, but I don't know the radius, so I'm going to use that information to help me. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually plot my points. So my center is at 1, negative 3, right here, and I'm also using the point 4, 2, which is right here. Okay, so the directions say we need to find the radius of the circle. How do we find the radius? We use our distance formula, or length. If this point 4, 2 is on the circle, okay, if I draw my circle and it's on it, that means that this right here is the radius. Now, if this was a completely horizontal or vertical line, I could just count my boxes. But since it's not, I need to find the length of that line. So I'm going to draw my slope step or my triangle and use my Pythagorean theorem. We've done this before. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I use Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse, or the radius in this case. So 3 squared plus 5 squared. I get 9 plus 25. So I get the square root of 34. Leave it like that for now, people. Do not put it as a decimal. My radius is the square root of 34. So now we can write the equation. We have the center, and we have the radius. So it'll be x minus 1 squared, because of the opposite, plus y plus 3 squared equals the square root of 34 squared. Now, the square root of 34 squared, the squared symbol cancels out the square root. So really, it's just going to be x minus 1 squared times y plus 3 squared is equal to 34. Okay, so if I'm squaring a square root, it just gets rid of my signs, and I'm left with that number. For those of you that are ready, please pause the video and try number 7 on your own. Otherwise, you can do it along with me. Go ahead and pause. All right, taking a look, my center is at negative 2, 6. It also passes for point negative 2, 10. What's nice about this one, guys, is that's a completely vertical line, so I can just count the boxes. I don't have to use the distance formula. So I see that my radius here is 4. Okay, so when I plug it into my equation, it's the opposite of your x, opposite of your y, and then your radius squared. And 4 squared is 16. All right, question number 8. Graph the circle whose diameter has endpoints. So now we're not just plotting 2 points for the radius, we're plotting the endpoints of the diameter. Okay, so let's start off by plotting our points at 2, 7 and a negative 6, 15. And that's my diameter. So I'm going to do the best I can freehanding it. Can't really see. Okay, I need to do that over. Shoot. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oof. The quicker you go, the easier it is to make it straight. Just throwing that out there. Okay. So plot the endpoints of the diameter. Find the center of the circle. How do we do that? How do we find the center of a line? If you said midpoints, you are correct. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my triangle in again. Okay. Tell Ms. Reggiani to center her board here. And then I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Midpoint, cut it in half. So half of 8 is 4 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the center. It's the middle of the diameter. Okay, that is at the point -2, 4. Find the radius of the circle. So now we need to find the distance of this. So going back to this, it's 4 and 4. We already knew that. So we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. 4 squared plus 4 squared equals our radius squared. So 16 plus 16 equals r squared. 32 equals r squared, which that's what we need for the equation, but let's keep in mind it asks for the radius, so we got to take the square root. So now we can write our equation. Our center is at x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals the square root of 32 squared. So it ends up being x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 32. All right, the equation of our circle. So distance, length, midpoint, it's all coming back, guys. If you don't know it, you got to know it. Last page. Okay, same thing, but this time we do not have graph paper. So if what I'm about to do is too challenging for you, then that should be a red flag to you that you need to ask for graph paper and do what we just did. On the test, graph paper is not provided for you. So if you want to do this using it, you need to ask for graph paper. You need to be responsible and ask for it. All right, so here's my 2 points. I need to find my center. So I need to find the midpoint between those two. All right, I'm going to start off with my x's. I'm going to add them together and divide by 2. So I get -3 over 2 is the x value. The y value, add them together, divide by 2, giving me 22 divided by 2, which is 11. So my center is at -3/2, 11. Now I need to find the radius, so I need to use the distance. So I'll line up my points. Okay, I'm going to subtract them. 7 minus 15 is -8, but I don't care about the sign, so it's 8. 2 minus -5 is 7. Okay, so those are the distance between the two numbers. So to find the radius, I'm going to do Pythagorean theorem. 7 squared plus 8 squared equals x squared. It ends up being 105. So the radius is the square root of 105. Now when I put it into my equation, I have my center, x plus 3/2 squared, y minus 11 squared equals the square root of 105 squared, which is just 105. Once again, if you could not handle that without graph paper, you need to ask for it in class and on the test. Last question. Write the equation of a circle whose diameter has those endpoints. Okay? Just did this 2 times. I want you to pause the video and do it on your own. Sorry, I just talked and I don't know if you heard it. So anyways, okay, here's my equation. Center was at 3, 3. I use a midpoint. Radius is the square root of 8. I use length. There's my equation. All right, we're done.